Hello, this is George Demaree, and I'm here with another episode of Your Money Matters. You know, this season in Money Matters, we want to focus on just great money principles. You know, financial literacy means so much just on how to handle your money, to make sure that you're making the right decisions as it relates to how you handle your money, and to put you in a position so you can have some financial freedom. We want to spend some time on credit and credit ratings, on how to get your credit number up over 700. Remember, if your credit number is over 700, there's most anything that you can't, depending on how much money you make. It's not very many things you cannot purchase or get credit for with a credit rating over 700. And we want to spend some time this season on debt and the importance of getting out of debt and staying out of debt once you get out. Debt, we've said many times, in my opinion, is a form of slavery, because when you're in debt, it locks you into maybe your current employer. It prevents you from doing some of the other nice things that you want to do, and hurts you from saving money, so that at one time in your life you can retire and live a good lifestyle as a senior citizen. But today I'm going to focus on how people waste money. And this information comes from Athena Wealth and Warren Buffett. Do you know that Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates have more wealth combined than the bottom 50% of all Americans? Well, what a wealth divide. So we're going to give you some principles and some ideas on what you can do to help you, again, to save money. The thing I want to talk about is obstacles that reduce your ability to save money. You have got to save money. You've got to pay yourself first whenever you have it, even if it's only 10 to 15 to 25 bucks a week. It's imperative that you put some money away. Well, how do you do it? First, avoid credit card debt. I'm telling you, because of the pandemic, because a number of people weren't working, credit card debt is at an all-time high right now. Do you realize that because interest rates have gone up, it's amazing that the federal government has raised interest rates in order to reduce inflation. But yet when they did that, now the average rate on credit cards is 20%. And it's made it a lot easier for banks to keep you in what I call financial slavery. That when you have credit card debt, try the very best that you can to pay it off within that cycle of 30 days. When it happens, you don't pay any interest, but you've got to pay more than minimum payments and figure a way to pay them off as quickly as possible. Another obstacle is, staying away from bars and clubs. Alcohol is expensive, especially in some of these places where one drink could be as much as $10 to $14 each. Over time, that adds up to a ton of money. Work on paying off high interest rate credit cards and learn how to calculate how they come up with your credit rating. We talked about credit rating a second ago, that it is important to get your credit rating as much as you can over 700. And remember, this is how they compute your credit rating. 35% of that is based on your history. That means you pay your credit cards on time. To the best of, even if you're going to only pay minimum payments on some months, make sure you do it on time. You don't want to do anything that will put a ding on your credit, because there will be a time in your life when you will need to get credit. 30% of that is credit utilization. Well, what that means is how much of the credit that you have approved, how much of that are you using? Rule of thumb is keep it under 30%. But if you want a credit rating over 700, it's really great to keep it under 15 or 10%. For an example, if you have $20,000 in credit, try your best to have no more than $2,000 in outstanding credit owed. 15% is your length of credit. How long have you had credit? That's difficult for young people who haven't had credit for a long time, but a lot of the credit or that credit number is dependent on how long people have given you credit and how long you have paid those bills on time. 15% is credit mix. Now, what's credit mix? Credit mix could be your mortgage payment, credit cards, car payments, or any other outstanding loans. That also helps your number when they know that a number of people in a number of different disciplines have given you credit and you've paid that credit on time. And finally, 10% is new credit. That every time someone runs your credit report, if it's a hard credit report, that will put a little ding, not a major ding, but it will put a little ding in your credit rating. There's soft ways of people, and it's hard credit reports. Soft credit reports are people who run your credit who have already ran your credit in the past. Hard credit reports is when you're trying to get new credit, and it does ding you slightly, but not a lot. Another thing is that will cause you to waste money, and a lot of people do it because everybody wants the new things, is buying expensive tech that you really don't need. An example, my iPhone. This is an iPhone 6. I've had this iPhone for 7-8 years, minimum. I think right now, I can't remember, maybe they're up to 12, 13, 14. Well, why pay $1,000 for a new phone that doesn't do that much more than the iPhone that I have today? I mean, different strokes for different folks, but if you could take that $1,000 and put that into your emergency fund, or maybe even buy a couple of pieces of stock, and we're going to talk about that too, that is a better use of that money long term. One of the things that you have to guard against, and we do, a lot of people do, is buying designer expensive clothes. Do not allow expensive clothes to get in the way of you paying your current debt or you moving into an emergency fund. More don'ts that you don't do. I know auto dealers would not like what I'm saying, and I say this often, but remember this, buying a brand new car is absolutely the worst financial decision that you can ever make. Why? Because the value goes down as much as 30% the first year. It is the second biggest investment that you will ever make, but it's an investment that will reduce in value quicker than anything that you will ever buy. As a matter of fact, over 5 years, the value of that car will be, on an average, down 60%, and there's a big chance that you still may owe some money on that car. So when you buy a car, don't get caught up in monthly payments. How often have you went to an auto dealer? During the last year's program, I talked about a lady who had a car that she had it on a 4-year note. She had paid off 2.5 years. Her payment was $400. She went to go and get her car serviced. Well, the dealer said, well, we can get you a brand new car and your payment will only be another $10 a month. No, it wasn't another $10 a month because they wanted to take that money, put it on a 5-year note. So instead of owing only $6,000 or $7,000, now you're owing another almost $30,000. So see what that does? That hurts your wealth. Don't give it up. If you're going to buy a car, it just makes more sense. Everybody needs to buy one, but buy one that's a year or two old, has a few miles on it, and that depreciation was taken up front. Another thing that you have to guard against is you do a subscription audit. Well, what's that mean? There's a lot of subscriptions that you have that will come out of your account automatically and you don't even realize that you're paying them. So whether it be magazines, whether it be health clubs, whether it be, it's so many things that it's so easy to spend $8 a month, $10 a month, and those kind of things add up. Stop paying a lot of money on cable TV. I'm telling you, there are streaming services that you can use that can help you to save money. I used to spend personally about $200 a month on cable, not counting the internet service. Now I use a streaming service. I pay a fraction of that. I get all the programs that I need. Now this here is a controversial category because black people index at 300% in this category, and that's personal care items, more than any other ethnicity. Not telling you not to use them because everybody needs them. So, but use discretion on how you do it. Another thing to guard against is watch out for eating out when you can eat at home. First of all, it's more nutritious when you eat out at home, and eating out can cost you a ton of money, especially as young people. What can you do, or how can you save money? How can you take that extra amount of money and put that into, like I said, a savings account? Put that into your emergency fund. In budgeting, you always have got to have an emergency fund because you will have an emergency. Understand where your money's going. Gotta live on a budget. It is important to live on a budget. We're going to spend some time on weeks to come on how to create a budget and what a good budget looks like. We may spend a little time on it today, but not much. Now let me give you some best practices. And this is something the federal government needs to do a better job of. Don't spend more than you earn. Well, I'll give you some statistics in weeks to come on how much the federal government spends more money than they earn, then you'll understand why our national deficit is so high. We're going to spend some time on that in the weeks to come. Tithe and pay yourself first. Pay God, pay yourself first before you pay any other bill. Pay yourself first. Learn to put a little money in your emergency fund and take some money for long-term investment. Remember, money grows exponentially. So if you save $25 to $30 a week over time, if you put it in a pretty secure fund, you'll make some money by the time you're ready to retire. Develop better buying habits. Learn how to negotiate. Don't take things at face value. Ask. Many times you have not because you ask not. If a person says it's going to cost you $100, ask them to get it for $50. You may get lucky and get it for $75. I'm telling you, look around. Don't worry about gratification today and be able to look at tomorrow and see what this can give you. Again, learn how to save. Track your expenses. How do you do it? Just look and see where you spend. You will be surprised. If you'll take a month and every dollar you spend, you put it on a piece of paper, and you'll find a way you can save $100 a month that can go into your emergency fund. Shop for better rates. I always shop my insurances at least every other year. That's my car insurances, that's my homeowner's insurance. Anything that I need like that, I shop. Because don't buy just because you like a person, which is what most people do. Buy because it makes sense for you financially. Do it, shop it. You'll be surprised on how much money. I'm telling you, I have saved a lot of money on my insurances just by taking 15 minutes to go and look for better rates. And there are a ton of good companies out there that will pay you and that will help to keep you secure when you need it. Shop for your phone rates. There are. Don't just stick with a particular company just because you've been with them for a long time. That makes sense. If an iPhone makes sense, get an iPhone. Does a Samsung make sense? Get a Samsung. If it's a different company that makes more sense and you can save 10, 15, 20 bucks a month, goes a long way, especially when you keep it in your pocket, and even your internet services. Again, learn how to negotiate. When you're negotiating and you ask a person, if a person wants to, again, charge you $100 and say 50, don't say a word. The person who speaks first in negotiating usually loses, all right? Never make the first concession. Educate yourself. All this information, I find that you'd be surprised if you can find it online. Just by Googling information. Educate yourself. What makes sense? How can you save money? What are some of the things that some other people doing? I look and I want to see what Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett are doing. Can I invest like they do? But maybe I can get an idea on what I can do and learn how they've made that money, and I can learn how to use mine as well. Talk to your children. Teach your children. Be good examples for your children when you spend money. Trust me, they are looking. I had a friend of mine a number of years ago. I may have said this in another program. Very, very good friend of mine. He's a Jewish guy, and he was a good client, and he and I grew to be, the best of friends. I met him during my time when I was just a sales rep at the radio station. So we were out playing golf one day, and this is 30 years ago, his 8-year-old son calls, and let me tell you what he asked. He said, "Dad, what stock am I going to buy for my birthday this month?" I said, I thought that was an incredible thing for an 8-year-old to ask his father, because his father had taught him the value of saving money and the value of investing money at a very early age. I bet you that when that little boy went to college, he was ready, and a lot of his college fund was paid for. Well, what do? Let me share some of the things you do that can help you to manage your money, all right? Again, manage your debt. How can you reduce the amount of money that you're in debt? There's basically 2 techniques. Most of you have already heard about them, so let me share them again. One is snowball. Snowball is paying off the debt with the smallest balance and then using that money to pay off the next debt with the smallest balance until you get it paid off. What makes snowball so effective is it gives you a sense of accomplishment. And then the money that you save, you put it to the next debt. It takes discipline to do. The other is called avalanche. And what Avalanche does is frankly one that I personally like the best, is because it targets the debt with the highest interest rate. Because you want to target the debt that's hurting your bank account the quickest. It depends on the number of accounts and the number and how much money you have in debt. But the key is having a plan. Whether it be snowball or whether it be avalanche, it is important. It is important because let me tell you a sense of security. When you pay off that last credit card, or when you pay off that car note, or when you pay off any debt, it gives you a sense of accomplishment, right? And it leaves money available for you to do some of the things that you want to do and also to put a lot of money away. Because you always want to be in a position not to help just yourself, but to help other people. Number 2, communicate. Communicate with your spouse. You have got to be on the same page. You and your spouse or significant other have got to be on the same page as it relates to money. It's important that you both have a good credit number. It's important that you work together. If it's 2 of you guys, to work together to get out of debt. The best way that I know of that if you're renting and it's 2 of you and you want to go buy a house, work together. Talk to a financial person. Develop a relationship with a banker. Develop a relationship with a good real estate agent. They can help to put you in a position where you can go and buy a house. But it's important that you and your spouse are on the same page. And finally, and all of this leads to one thing, create a plan. Create a plan. Create a plan, have the discipline to stick with the plan, and you get it done. At St. Stephen Baptist Church, we want you to live a fruitful life. We do. We understand the importance of having resources to do that. But we want you to be in a position that one day that you can retire, you can take vacations, you can do some of the things that you want to do, but it requires planning at an early age and getting you there. So that's some of the ways people waste money that you should avoid, and some of the things that you can do to help you to put you in a great financial position. Again, this is George Demaree, and this has been another episode of Your Money Matters. Have a great day.